Welcome to the Human Meme Podcast. I'm David Bowles, and today I get to tell you about a book I wrote with my beloved wife of 38 years and stellar co-author, Jana Sweeney. It is called Back to Willowbrook: The Slow Winning and Fast Losing of Disability Rights in America. And it is out now. I want to start with a Saturday afternoon. April 23rd, 2016, 4:45 in the afternoon. A reader named Dawn left a comment under a blog entry of mine that was nearly 9 years old, an entry called Enforcing the Ugly Laws. She wrote about her life. I wrote back the way you answer a stranger who has trusted you with something, and part of what I wrote was this. The ADA is currently in danger, and those with disabilities are being propelled backward 30 years by the current dismal state of our political affairs. That was 10 years ago. This year, the memorandum arrived that made the warning look modest. So Jana and I sat down and wrote the whole record, from the first ugly law to the envelopes that are leaving state Medicaid agencies as I speak. The book is history, and the book is news, and the seam between those two things is the subject. Here is the oldest voice in it. In May of 1881, the city of Chicago passed an ordinance declaring that any person diseased, maimed, mutilated, or in any way deformed could be fined for being seen on the public way. Being visible was the offense. The law rode the railroads west after that, and in 1889 it arrived in Lincoln, Nebraska, which adopted the Chicago wording nearly letter for letter, down to the dollar fine and the commitment to the county poor farm. Omaha followed a year later. I grew up in Lincoln. I performed on television there as a teenager. Nobody told me my city had once made it a finable offense for certain bodies to stand where I stood. That silence is one of the reasons this book exists. The title comes from the place where the silence broke: Willowbrook State School, Staten Island, New York. A senator walked those wards in 1965 and told the country what he saw, and the country went back to dinner. In January 1972, the key turned. An ordinary brass key to Building 6, held out by people inside who had run out of quieter instruments, and a young reporter named Geraldo Rivera carried a camera through the door it opened. This time the country could go nowhere, because the wards were on film. A resident of that place, Bernard Carabello, walked out of it and into the rest of his life as a witness. A lawsuit followed, then a consent judgment, then the long emptying of the institutions. The book follows every step, and it names the people who took them. It follows the 25 days in 1977 when disabled occupiers held a federal building in San Francisco until Section 504 was signed unchanged, with organizers like Judy Heumann and Kitty Cohn running needs and logistics from the inside, while two congressmen convened a hearing in room 406 to put Congress itself inside the building. It follows the week in March 1988 when the students of Gallaudet University, the deaf university in Washington, shut their campus down because the board had chosen a hearing president over two deaf finalists. Their student body president, Greg Libach, 20 years old, went on Nightline and out-argued the chancellor in front of the nation. Sitting with him on that broadcast was Marlee Matlin, who had just won the Academy Award for the film of the play Jana was starring in on the night we met. I put that sentence in the book because it is true, and I am saying it on this podcast because I am still not over it. By the end of the week, Gallaudet had I. King Jordan, its first deaf president in 124 years. 2 years after that came the Americans with Disabilities Act. That is the slow winning. 1881 to 1990, 109 years to establish that a disabled American is a citizen in full. Then comes the part of the book that is happening while you listen. Rights written in law survive as interpretations, and interpretations can be governed. A 2026 memorandum instructs agencies to read the ADA in a way the federal courts have rejected. Work requirements now meter Medicaid by the reported hour, 80 hours a month, and between June 30th and August 31st of this year. Envelopes went out to millions of Americans explaining what they must now prove to keep their coverage. Arkansas already ran this experiment. It removed 18,164 people from coverage while employment stood still, and those results were published before the national law passed. The people who wrote the law had the evidence in hand. They passed it anyway. The case challenging all of it is called Texas versus Kennedy, and the book follows it to press time, July 11th, 2026, and tells you honestly which matters remained open when the presses ran. Now let me tell you about my co-author, because her half of this book is the half I could never have written. Jana Sweeney is deaf. She has taught American Sign Language at New York University since 1991, and she spent more than 2 decades as a vocational rehabilitation counselor. Inside the systems this book documents, 2 people say I in this book, and hers is the voice I want you to hear. Chapter 3 opens in her classroom. On the first day of my class at New York University, the voice goes off. No speaking, all semester, because the language her students came to learn is found in the hands and the face, and the shaped space between 2 people. Her testimony runs through the book in the first person. From a roll call in a Council Bluffs elementary school where a 5-year-old girl could not hear her own name, to this year, when her students are solicited to work without pay, and her friends are penalized for requesting what the law promises them. She wrote those pages herself. I had the honor of building the archive around them. The dedication tells you who the book is for the members of the Willowbrook class, living and gone, and for everyone who was ever told that nothing about the place could change. The old Willowbrook grounds are a college campus now, and a memorial path runs through it called the Willowbrook Mile. The book ends there, standing between a hidden camera in 1972 and a date circled on an office calendar for the last night of 2026. Our cover is a dark building at night with a single window lit. That window is the book. The files are kept. The path stays open. Back to Willowbrook. The Slow, Winning, and Fast Losing of Disability Rights in America by Jana Sweeney and David Bowles is available now in paperback and Kindle on Amazon and as a free PDF download at bowlesbooks.com. For the Human Meme Podcast, I'm David Bowles, wishing you a humble evening and an activated tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Be a human meme.